Kicking off this wonderful tribute is the mayor of the great city of Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti.
Thank you so much, Denise, and a very happy Martin Luther King Day to everyone. I know this is a day to reflect of the freedoms and the civil rights that we have and those that we still struggle to obtain. What a joy it is to be here in one of my favorite places in Los Angeles always, just as a dad and as an Angelino, the Los Angeles Zoo, and to be here with our extraordinary council member, Nithya Raman. And thank you, Denise, for your leadership. You already disappeared, see, in the shadows. Thank you for all the work that you and everyone here at the zoo do to make this really a place of family, a place of nature, of conservation, and of learning. But something feels a little incomplete here today, not just at the zoo, but in Los Angeles. And that's the loss of an angel here in the City of Angels, our dear friend, Betty White. I know we are all looking forward to celebrating 100 years with her, but heaven called her a couple weeks early. And I've been here so many times with Betty. I know Tom LaBonge, another angel who we lost in the last year, we just marked the 1-year anniversary of his passing, first introduced me to Betty and introduced me to her love of this place, both this zoo and of Los Angeles, a city she came to when she was just 2 years old. And we adored her for so many reasons. First and foremost was her talent, her pitch-perfect comedic timing, the decades she spent making us laugh in her roles on the Mary Tyler Moore Show and the Golden Girls. We loved, though, her warmth, and we loved her sense of mischief. Anybody who ever spent time with her knew her humor was mischievous. She could deliver lines that you'd never expect coming out of Betty White, and only she could. But even bigger than her talent was her heart for people, and for all living things. It was that heart and humanity that she expressed right here at the Los Angeles Zoo, whether it was with my predecessor's predecessor, Tom Bradley in 1974, here on our airwaves, bringing the zoo literally into our living rooms, or the way that she was a powerful advocate for animals. Her involvement with the zoo began in 1966, at the very beginning when this zoo opened and botanical gardens opened. And as she wrote in her book, Betty and Friends, My Life at the Zoo, a great volume if you haven't seen it, her deep love for animals stretched back to her early childhood. And throughout her long career and life, she was such a passionate advocate for those living creatures, including her service to the Greater Los Angeles Zoo Association as a trustee, member, and then chair of the Board of Zoo Commissioners. And the Los Angeles Zoo family and all of the animals, all of the staff here, have lost perhaps their greatest friend, their dearest advocate. And giving us today a gift to give back to Betty is why we are here, to express our love, fans and visitors alike. Maybe somebody who's never been to the zoo but just loved Betty White will come here to say something about her. Or maybe somebody who loves the zoo but didn't know Betty as well will get to know her as well. So you can come here at Linden Plaza to spend time in quiet reflection, to be able to share your thoughts and memories on a card, or maybe place a white rose as we see all around us in a planter in Betty's honor. And there's no better place for this kind of memorial to her than at the LA Zoo here and this plaza named after Betty's late husband and great love. In fact, it's been reported that the last word she said was Alan. And I hope that they are together today. So Betty's heart was so big. She used it to benefit so many animals, to captivate those animals that are human beings. And I know that we will all miss her, but may her memory always be a blessing to this city and to this world, to this zoo, to all living things on this planet, and know that her legacy will live on here forever in this joyful place called the Los Angeles Zoo. Thank you so much, Denise.
Thank you, Mayor. And now I'd like to introduce our wonderful representative for the 4th Council District, Councilmember Nithya Raman.
Thank you so much, Mayor, for those beautiful words. I know Betty meant so much to this city and to you personally. And thank you, Denise and Tom and everyone from GLAZA for organizing this celebration. It is such a pleasure to be here in honor of Betty White on what would have been her 100th birthday. She was a formidable woman who did it all. She broke glass ceilings one room at a time, and she did it while bringing the house down with laughter. The mayor already mentioned this event, but she used her celebrity to bring attention to the zoo and to bring awareness about the zoo and bring it directly into people's bedrooms through a 1974 special she created called Backstage at the Zoo, where celebrities talked about animals, their love of animals, and really brought awareness about the zoo to people who hadn't known about it before. This zoo was always an oasis for her. She credits her early visits to the old Selig Zoo in downtown Los Angeles as a catalyst for what would become her lifelong purpose, her lifelong activism around animals. When the current zoo opened its doors in 1966, Betty started volunteering that year in an unofficial capacity before joining as a trustee. And as she would say, they couldn't get rid of her since. Griffith Park has been home to the zoo for many, many years, and we have Betty to thank for so many of the improvements that have been made right here. Personally, as I have watched America's response to her death, one thing really shines through. Her death left so many people heartbroken because she touched people on an individual level. She brought out love. And people started organizing online through a hashtag, Betty White Challenge. And in every town, in every city, they started putting together funds for the local animal welfare organizations. In her husband's hometown, patrons of a brewery bought beers for Betty and tallied the dollars on a chalkboard on the side of the brewery, in her memory, with all of the proceeds going to animal welfare right there in that town. Betty was an advocate for this zoo, but she was also an advocate for loving animals. And she brought that love for animals so deeply, so personally to everyone in America. And we can't thank her enough for the contribution that she made. To the woman, to the myth, to the legend, happy birthday. You will be sorely missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Raman. And now I'd like to introduce Colleen from Deputy District Director for Congressman Adam Schiff's office.
Good morning, everyone. Congressman Schiff sends his regards and regrets that he couldn't join us today. But he did submit a congressional record statement in honor of Betty White to the Congressional Record on January 10th, just extolling all of her virtues as a person, as an animal advocate. And I just want to read a small excerpt from it. It says, I would like to convey my deepest sympathies to Betty's family, friends, and fans, as well as extend a heartfelt thanks for her decades of contributions to animal welfare, the LA Zoo in particular, and the untold hours of entertainment she provided to the world. The entire global community will greatly miss Betty White. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Colleen. Now I'd like to take a few moments to reflect on Betty White and what she meant to the Los Angeles Zoo. The words that come to mind when I think about Betty are entertainment legend, animal advocate, and she was a member of the Los Angeles Zoo family for decades, as you've heard. Betty was our biggest champion, and she worked tirelessly on behalf of the Los Angeles Zoo and the animals that call the zoo home. She knew the importance of animals and their impact on the human spirit. She understood and valued the work that the Los Angeles Zoo and other AZA-accredited zoos do every day for species conservation. She marveled at the exceptional care that our animal keepers provided the animals. She spent a lot of time here, developed a lot of special relationships with the animal care team. They felt she had this magical sense about her that allowed her to be able to communicate with the animals in a very, very special way. In 2013, they bestowed the highest honor upon her. The Los Angeles Zoo chapter of the American Association of Animal Keepers made her an honorary zookeeper, and she truly treasured that honor. From the first time that I met her, she was the same over the many, many years that we knew each other. Kind, gentle-natured, funny, and she was such a humble individual. She was a rare gem. I call her an endangered species. She made it her life's purpose to use her humor, her influence, to make the world a better place for all living creatures. Her body might be absent today, but her spirit will live on at the Los Angeles Zoo forever. And now I'd like to introduce the president of the Greater Los Angeles Zoo Association, Tom Jacobson.
Thank you so much, Denise. Betty was not an advocate just for the LA Zoo and the animals here, but for animals all over the world, from those in the wild to those in shelters, guide dogs for the blind. She loved all animals, large and small. And she was never one to stand outside and criticize. She would always work with us to do what she could to help. I was speaking with her manager recently, and we talked about how positive Betty was, how she always looked forward, never back, and wanted to have a positive impact on the world. And that's what she did. She was an endearing figure on and off the screen. I've heard so many funny stories about Betty, like the time she was visiting the zoo and her fans, to whom she was always very kind when she was on site, mobbed her and followed her to the ladies' room. And our volunteers had to fend them off because they were climbing into the stalls to get a chance to meet Betty. Our trustees have shared many, many funny stories about Betty, her wicked sense of humor, and how much fun it was to work with her. She really was loved by all. All generations love Betty White. We could spend all day talking about her, laughing, crying, sharing stories, but knowing Betty, she would think that was a waste of time. She would want us to stay focused on her mission, the bigger picture, conserving wildlife for future generations. So thank you, Betty, for all the memories, the love, and support. We also thank all your fans who've made gifts in her memory on lazoo.org, our website, and we want to thank Pink's and the Walt Disney Company and others who've made gifts in her honor. We hold you in our heart, Betty, and we look forward to honoring your service in a permanent way in an announcement further down the road. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you very much, Tom. And now I'd like to introduce the family from Pink's Hot Dog, a Hollywood landmark since 1939. You really can't talk about Betty unless you talk about Pink's. And so now I'd like to introduce Richard, Gloria, and Beverly Pink.
Hi, everybody. Well, I'll tell you, Betty White used to come to Pink's and get her naked dog because she said, look, just tell everybody Betty White gets naked at Pink's. And she just liked the beef in a bun. She said, just keep it simple. But when she would come there with her actress friends, she would just entertain the crowd in our dining room. And nothing was more memorable because you just mention the name Betty White and what comes to mind but joy and laughter and fun. And so just to give you an idea of how big her heart is, take a look at this check. That's awesome. We have been selling Pink's Betty White naked dog for well over a week. A little bit, just so you don't, And right. I want to give this. Lower it. And we were giving 100% of the proceeds to the LA Zoo, which Betty, of course, loved. She loved it, I think, more than she loved hot dogs. And here's my wife, Gloria, my sister, Beverly. And so we are so proud to donate $3,000 to the Los Angeles Zoo so they can continue the legacy of Betty White. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So that concludes our program. I want to say thank you to Mayor Garcetti, Councilmember Raman, Representative from Congressman Adam Schiff's office, Tom Jacobson, the president of the Greater Los Angeles Zoo Association, and the Pink's family. We want to say happy birthday to Betty. She will live on in our lives forever. The impact that she made will never be replaced, but we will hold her memory deep and close forever. And our lives have been far more enriched because she was in it. And so thank you all for coming, and happy birthday, Betty. We know you're smiling down on us. Thank you.